Oh, we're not in time. Well, intro.
I'm Sir Flowbojan Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And this
is
WAK.
If Amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on
right.
a freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WAK, where we discuss topics important to the Amtgard community at large and talk with interesting people from around the foam fighting world. And currently, all of us are drunk on Steak and Shake.
For the keen-eyed listeners and viewers among us, you may realize we're wearing the exact same clothes and have the exact same hair and the exact same placement of everything on the table. I said what I said. As we did in the last Hammertime, because we are doing these back-to-back with the Steak and Shake break in the middle. So I apologize for whatever energy I'm about to bring to this episode.
There you go. It's going to be, I'm going to put it right here so that it's the fourth head in this video. There we go.
Just Steak and Shake. Sponsored by, nope, not sponsored by.
By Charmin.
Yeah. Could we get that? Hold on. I've been doing crimes in the car on the way here. So the last one we left off with a whole bit about my personal view on phoenixes. Do we want to start there? Or
yeah, let's do that. Okay,
so
This is a part 2.
Yeah, kind of, right?
Oh, I can't sing that. We'll get copyright struck.
So, I got my masterhood at the last event, and people have been asking me, like, what do you want for your phoenix? And there's a whole break glass in case of knighting thing, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But people have asked me, like, what do you want your phoenix to be? And I always mildly joke, that I want the red Yeezus square. If you've ever listened to that album or seen it, it's just a red square on a CD. But I don't actually... That I don't actually care about that. I don't want a personal phoenix. I don't like the idea of a personal phoenix. I wish that either Amtgard had a phoenix in general that was free to use, because the existing phoenix that we have, I don't know who made it, and I don't know who to ask if I can use it, or if it's freely usable for anyone in Amtgard. Or even on another level, I wish Kingdoms had a phoenix. Because in my point of view, I am a knight of our kingdom, or I, hopefully will be a knight of our kingdom at some point, right? Or I will hopefully at some point be a knight of Amtgard. And what I would rather represent is the game or the kingdom, and not a personal symbol that is just all special for me. And I know that, like, getting knighted is a big personal, like, lifetime achievement, but I kind of don't care. Like, from my point of view, it's not about me. It's about the game as a whole. And so I wish there was just a unified phoenix we could use, and then anytime somebody saw it, they could say, oh, that's that Amtgard phoenix, or that's that symbol, right? So that's where I fall on phoenixes, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people don't like that, apparently, because I mentioned it at the last event, and they were like, no, you got to make it special. I was like, okay.
I mean, this is something that you and I have talked about as like a Squire Knight sort of thing, where, and to kind of echo some of the things that you said there, it's the way that the conversations that Cabbage and I have had is essentially, the whole point of this is that the game is gaining an asset, right?
Yeah.
And so the representation is for the game as a whole. And I agree with you. I wish that there was a Phoenix that was more game-wide. I actually think this is one of the things that Neverwinter does really well. They have a specific Neverwinter Phoenix.
Oh, that's dope. Do they really?
Yeah, so their Phoenix
it's in their symbol, right?
Yeah, it's yellow on the orange on the yellow sun with the yellow sun behind it. That's their kingdom symbol. I wish I could remember who put it together originally. And
almost certainly Alona, right? Like
or Nocturne or somebody,
Fair.
I'm sure. But yeah. We'll credit those people anyways with it. I don't know, but yeah, we don't really have that. Our kingdom has the snowflake, but that's not quite the same, right?
Yeah, like just a device for the kingdom as a whole to say, like, this is a knight from this kingdom, and like I would like it if all of the knights from our kingdom could be recognizable in that way. So it's like before they even see you, you're like, oh, that's a Winter's Edge knight. That's cool. Like I don't know, like I'm big on unit cohesion. Like it or not, I love it when fighting companies come out in all the same color scheme, garb, and everything. Like, I think that's really cool because it does give a more put together, kind of look to it.
Well, I actually don't like the unified aspect of. I like the idea of, like, I am a Winter's Edge knight, which is, if I get knighted or whatever, my plan is for the tunic to be in like colors and everything like that to be Winter's Edge and not like some kind of personal or company type thing. Because I see that part of it. However, the Phoenix itself, we have a lot of unit type stuff, households, companies, and things like that, battle games where you play in teams and things. And knighthood and awards is like one of the few things that you have a true personal growth aspect into. So having your own Phoenix and your representation of it, I think, is actually really good overall. Now, having a nightly device for each kingdom would actually be kind of cool, though, like to go in tandem with it. So like one sleeve has yours, the other sleeve has the other one, or something like that. That would be kind of neat.
Yeah, then no matter where you go, you're like, oh, dude, that guy's from Iron Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which, I mean, in essence, is a way is just whatever shield or whatever is used for the kingdom. But that kind of goes back to you're a knight of X kingdom kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess my response to that would just be like, you can always have a personal device that is your own symbol, right? But like the Phoenix, the big recognizable thing, should be something that's pretty uniform.
Well,
nah.
I think that's what this was born of, right? You old school, you get knighted. It also means you're being landed. You're being given a title of some kind. There's prestige that comes with it. You would have your own personal device created. AmpGuard took that, and at one point it may have been that you actually had a personal device that wasn't necessarily a Phoenix, but was some kind of personal device. But at some point, that was homogenized into, because a Phoenix is the symbol of knighthood, you are picking the type of Phoenix that you want to symbolize your knighthood. I get where the history of it kind of came from, but it's definitely... I see where you're coming from in the, like, I'd like to represent my kingdom.
Yeah.
Rather than just myself. I say that having taken up my knight's Phoenix, who he got from his knight, and I was really happy to do that. I thought that was a really cool thing. We mentioned on the last episode, it's up there on the pillow, but I don't feel like getting it. It's kind of a derpy little Phoenix.
I love the derp face on the Phoenix, though.
I can't safely reach it.
Yeah,
if
no,
I stand up, Jeff will die.
I was going to say you'll drop that entire porcelain thing on your head again,
yeah,
too.
I can't get to it.
I caught it the last time that happened, though. So
yeah, we were playing disc golf in the...
No, you were playing ping pong.
Oh, ping pong. That's right. It was
That's
ping
when we
pong.
started the ping pong table
I
here.
missed the ping pong.
It's too bad it broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, this kind of segues though into the break glass in case of knighting thing, where my viewpoint on it is very similar. So for me, when people ask, what do I want for my
Let's
Phoenix?
give a quick rundown of what that thing is.
Yeah. So break glass in case of knighting is, I think, Alona, again, since we're calling her out in the episode. Alona has posted about this several times. I don't know if she's the original creator, but certainly where we got it from. And it's essentially like a list of all the things that people normally get for knighthood and who you would like to make it and kind of what thought maybe you want to go into it, like what kind of theme and everything else. So on a very base level, it's like, who do you want to make your tunic? You know, who do you want to make
your chain, your spurs, your this, that, and the other?
Yeah, and so for me, again, much in the same way of the Phoenix, I don't care who makes my tunic. I don't care who makes my chain, my spurs, my whatever. Like, I think that knightings are the coolest opportunity for someone to make something that gets seen at a kingdom level. Mm-hmm. So when Flo sent it to me, like, I've been slowly filling it out because I've had to think about it now. And I know Jeff's probably gotten it too, and it's like, I don't fucking care. But like,
I think I caused you to get it.
Oh yeah,
you bastard.
Definitely. Jeff sent it to me, and I was like, yes, this will work great.
And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't care out of like a level of disrespect, but more like, again, in the same way that Winter's Edge is acquiring a knight, right? Like, getting a new knight is an asset for the kingdom. It's also an opportunity for all of those people who are good at those things to get to show something off at a kingdom level. So for most of those, as I've been filling it out, I'm like, anybody who's like 7th or higher that wants to make a tunic to get recognized, like, that should be the person who does it. Because they're at the skill level where they can make something really, really cool, but also they're going to be able to make something that can get awarded because it's going to be shown to the whole kingdom. It's going to be a prize piece, you know?
I think that's kind of cool too. You are in this hypothetical, you are getting knighted, but you are creating a potential for more people to ladder up and get closer to their own knighthood.
Right. I don't like, and I'm not calling anybody out here, but I don't like knightings that feel like weddings. It's not like, I don't like a whole event that's organized. And like, that is not to, like, Cade's Knighting was done very tastefully. They actually took it out of the feast hall and did it outside separately.
I actually really liked the way that they did it because you could kind of choose to attend or not.
Yeah, 100%. I loved that. Oh, we didn't talk about the pie thing at the event. We'll talk about that too.
Sorry, Clover.
God, I almost killed him. That just popped into my head. But like,
I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, like Cade's Knighting was done super tastefully. They took it outside, and people who wanted to be there, which I think was almost everybody, did get to be there. Guns Knighting was done super well too, where it was, like everybody still had a great time, and it wasn't just the Knighting. But I have been to Knightings where it's like, this is the Bridezilla, and this is, that kind of thing, right? And I fucking hate that. Like, I don't even care if my Knighting gets announced, but if it draws more people to the event, hey, that's cool. But it's not about me. It's about the kingdom, and it's still about, the game in general. This whole thing that happens over here is a sideshow to that. So for me, it's always very impersonal. So with the Phoenix and with the, all the gifts that come along with being knighted, those are opportunities for other people to get stuff, and not necessarily like, it's all about me. But I'm also really bad at receiving gifts, so that might be part of it.
I actually hold a very similar view because, like, Lucas and I talked about it, and it's kind of the same outlook that I have with just Office in general, is that you should be I don't believe in taking the reins and, like, having them and holding them as a monarchy person. That's all well and good for people who are good at doing that. I'm just not one of them, so I go and I search for people who are good at what they're doing and just put them in charge. That's not to say I don't do anything, because I check up on them, and if they need something covered or whatever, things like that, I will cover anything and everything they want me to, right? But as far as the knighting gifts and stuff like that go, I had the same outlook, but I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, that puts a lot of work on whoever's organizing everything. So
there always is a lot of, like, that's
more,
true no matter
more
what.
than, yeah, true, more than, I guess, necessary, if that makes sense, right? So when I went through it, I kind of went and was like, all right, so like Lucas, I was like, with the garb, I'd like to see someone 7 or higher. I don't want anyone who's got a masterhood in anything to put anything together. I want this to be a showcase opportunity for someone who's looking at things. And then some of the smaller things, like the cloak, I think, is listed. That can be super basic. So it could be someone with like 4 or 5 where they can put a stitch together, it's not going to fall apart and everything, and they can do whatever they want with it.
I deviate from you in one key area. For the tunic, I wrote anyone 7th above, or Lexi if she has the time. I did. That is in my fucking thing.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't do that to her, but if she wanted to, like, I'm not going to say no. I've seen her fucking work.
And then I also added on mine and that I would add money to the pool, basically, for it, because I do see that there are artisans out there who want to try and do something really big, but they just don't have the cash to do so. And so if it happens, I have money on the table effectively that someone could use.
I like that, actually.
Yeah, I think so too.
What was the other thing? Looking at it, some of the stuff that's on there, in Winter's Edge, we don't have some people who are doing like the box, the chest, or whatever you want to call it, that I think other... Like Lao Tzu does really good specialization for those things.
Yeah.
But we don't really have anyone doing that kind of stuff here, so that's an opportunity for anyone to really grab into. Simi came to mind because he was doing woodworking, but not really that kind of thing. But that's the only person I can think of offhand anyway.
I bet Flo could make a really cool box.
Yeah, I mean, Flo could. I know he did...
I've watched him make a really cool desk.
Yeah.
A box
he did
is just a desk, but smaller.
For guns knighting.
I made a big shield. It was huge. It was like 3 feet across and edge painted up with the big triad symbol in it. It had a metal cop in the center. It was kind of cool.
Because I don't know anyone. There's more than a few people like Serva and stuff like that who do some like wood burning and like art on wood, but not necessarily construction type stuff, right? So that's an interesting thing. I'm also curious with the form, or whatever you want to call it, like how universally accepted all these gifts in it are, right? Like there's chain, which I know is universal, belt, which is universal, tunic is typically universal, I feel like, and then spurs, and then the I think that's probably the most universal pieces, but also listed on it was cloak, chest, pillow. Kneeler probably is universal as well. What was the other thing? I feel like there's
there's a paladin anti-paladin belt favor, but that's
too.
also kind of not.
But I don't know. The last little bit that may be new coming up, but I really feel like some of those were like gifts other people. Oh, sword.
We forgot the sword.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's necessarily universal as well. I feel like that's kind of taken care of by friends and not really like a seek out kind of thing. And if someone's making swords or something like that, they will already know someone to seek out for that. It's not like a thing that we're like, oh, cool, we're going to get the local smith to go do that. Like,
if you have one of those in your kingdom, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool.
Hey, point them out to us. We want to talk to them, get them on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they can show and tell, that would be so cool.
Mm-hmm. Night circles handle this differently too. Like the Winter's Edge circle has in our bylaws that if no one else steps forward, we will provide the basics, right?
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so your belt, your spurs, the chain, those are the things that, if someone doesn't step up to fill one of those roles, the circle's responsibility is to provide those because they're considered kind of the three basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other stuff is...
Oh, I do have my pillow on lock already. I do know who I want to do that because they said they would do it. Tara, Inc., who made your scroll, has a rug gun.
Oh, I've actually wanted to try messing with those. No joke. TikTok has
dangerous.
Been problems for me.
She is fucking dangerous that thing.
She said, so when you get knighted, do you want your WAK head as your pillow? And I said, yes, please. There was
cool.
0 milliseconds of thought between her saying that and me giving the answer. So I do have the pillow locked down as well, just because it was offered.
Oh, that's cool.
Man, I still say if it ends up that all three of us, because I don't know if our listeners know this, but
big belt.
All three of us are pretty close in flame. Anyone who's been in office for a long time ends up pretty close in the other service belts too. So usually if you have a flame belt, you're pretty close in crown. Usually if you have a crown, you're pretty close in flame. And both of these guys have been doing different kinds of service for quite some time now. So none of us, I have my crown belt, of course. I'm pretty close in flame, and so are they. So we jokingly said that if there's a chance that we're all going to get it around the same time, that we'll just hold off until all three of us are qualled and get one big belt to go around all of us. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
One big belt. Get a whole cow to do that.
It's fine. One big belt, one big tunic. Just the whole WAK logo as our kneeler.
That would be cool.
Bro, I'm here for it. Like,
well, it'll be our new background.
Oh, fucking yeah. We'll have to space it out because I want some time with the rug too. Like, it's got to, like 4 months of the year it's at your house. 4 months it's at Jeff's house. 4 months it's at my house. We'll just cycle it around.
Yeah, right. Ink, you can figure out how to split this into 3, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I was saying, you'll get different mileage from your knight circles about what they provide and what they don't provide. Usually it's your knight who's helping organize this, and the whole point of this document is to really make it a little easier on them, right? You're letting them know what some of your preferences are. And like the guy said here, if you just don't care, if you don't have a particular person in mind, that's okay. You can just write down doesn't matter, or anyone that's not a master.
Well, that's actually kind of what led me to do it, because both me and Lucas said we didn't want to do it because we wanted to showcase other people who wanted to do things. And I stopped and thought about it, and I was like, well, those people might not speak up is also part of the problem, right? So like they don't feel that they're good enough for it or something along those lines, which is not true. You probably are.
You end up with another side of that too, where, Donnie, who is, friends for both of you and has known you all for well over, probably going on 2 decades now, steps up and says, hey, I really want to do blah, whatever.
First off, Donnie would never do that, but continue.
In this hypothetical where Donnie steps up and says, hey, I want to do blah, that happens a whole lot, where people will step forward and say, I want to do the belt. Yeah, that person is
and sometimes it's multiple.
Yeah, that those people have their master owl and have made a ton of stuff and all of this stuff, but they're doing it because they've known you for a long time and they're close friends. So this is where the person that's coordinating it can kind of step in and go, hey, that's really cool. Their wish is that someone that is not a master yet does this so that they can work towards their masterhood. It's just great to let your knight know.
Yeah.
Man, I've got a cold.
Do you really?
I think I only have one design element aspect that's in it, and I would like if it happens and all that, right? A Djed pyramid across the spine on the tunic. Like that's the only like real.
If it doesn't make
aspect.
it into that sheet, it won't happen. So
right, no, it's on there. I also thought that it would be really cool that like during the ceremony thing that whoever made them is the one who presents them, or it makes sure that like, can I have the spurs? Then it would be, can I have the spurs made by someone? Yeah. By whoever it was. Yeah. Or
this is
like
going
that.
off the last episode where you talked about people who made the scrolls got to present them.
And because we did that, and then I stopped and thought about it, and it was like, I could guess everyone who made the things for Cade, because I think everyone brought them out for him, for who were the ones, but I didn't know until I talked to people about how Catnip made I think it was Catnip who made the tunic and things like that, because they didn't give them out. Of course, that's harder to do because you're already wearing it typically and stuff like that, but all the other things, I'd like the mention of it to make sure that like everyone knows who made these things, because they probably spend a good amount of time on it for a Knight of the Kingdom.
It's a cool shout out too.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally a moment for you to stand in front of the kingdom and say, "Here's this expert thing I've made," and show it to the kingdom.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, so I like that as a concept, because again, like these people should be getting awarded for making these things, and sometimes it comes out that I don't really have an opportunity to make something to get seen at a kingdom level, right? Or like it may not win the Dragon Master, so it'll just get swept under the rug because it wasn't the winner, even if it was a crazy cool piece.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing for me is like I make stuff every now and then, but I typically don't make enough stuff in a 6-month time period to really go to a Dragon Master or a thing. Like I maybe could do a best of the best kind of thing because it's a one item kind of deal or something, but I really just don't do ANS tournaments at all because I have a very fleeting ADD mind when it comes to making stuff. So it's like, this one thing, did it, cool, check, I should do another. Boy, it's been about 2 years since I've done something.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I pull my sewing machine out, and I usually make cool stuff when I do, but every time I pull it out, I'm like, how does it work again?
You have to...
Let's go to Husqvarna.com real quick and just look up a manual.
This is my machine number, and this is the download PDF.
Yeah. It's PDF parentheses 1 because I have downloaded it before. Sweet.
Oh,
okay, cool.
Obviously. Yeah.
PDF.
Sorry, that's
9.
That's a known quantity for you and me, but not everyone else necessary.
I just downloaded it again. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
It's like
I don't know where I put it last time, so I'll just find it now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. I don't make stuff often enough, so like that would be super cool. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what a break glass is, but also that's kind of like the mindset going into anything like that is that it's not about you. Like it is a recognition of you, but it's for the kingdom.
And again, that's kind of just our viewpoint of it, because I can definitely see where many things are your effort overall, right? Like you had teachers, mentors, and people helping you throughout the time that are in the kingdom and everything, but you did the work kind of deal. So like I can definitely see the true personal growth aspect of it, and that it's your thing. And I'm not trying to take away from that in any way, shape, or form.
No, listen, if you have a knighting that's all about you, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah,
congratulations.
absolutely.
I will still be there. But
this is just our viewpoint.
Yeah. Like, I do not want people to walk away with the impression that this is how you should get
knighted.
Right.
Like, that's what I just wanted to make sure of, you know.
If you enjoy your knighting, you're fucking wrong. You can take that from the WAK crew. All 3 of us think that.
Just like you shouldn't do anything for awards, man.
Yeah, right?
But
yeah, no.
The really important thing to take away from here too is if you've got an 8, if you're starting to get up there, start thinking about go ahead and filling something out for your knight, because they're going to be the one that's organizing it. And I mean, we want to make sure that you have the type of knighting that you want. These two have told you all the type of knighting ceremony that they're really wanting to have now, and that's cool. It's a personal choice, right? If you don't say anything, though, you can't be disappointed if it doesn't work out exactly like that.
I honestly miss the old school ninja knightings, and like if I had absolute druthers, I would do it. I would want it that way, but that's really just a thing of the
druthers.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, that's a little Abner thing. If I'd rather have my druthers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We got the Jeff from Westworld. I don't know how he got here.
I've never watched that.
It's good though.
Oh, the music. I can't. Not on this. This isn't the
time. But I know that's a thing of the past, and sort of in good reason as well.
Yeah. I don't want a sword. I want my knighting weapon to be a gun.
Apparently, I have an alarm on my phone that whenever it's silent, it doesn't silent.
Yeah, that's a good alarm.
Yeah, it's a good alarm system.
I was gonna say that would, if it didn't go off on silent, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Do we want to transition to talk about? So, we've gotten several questions from listeners over the past several months.
Yeah, let's do that.
And we have a couple of them that like are about the podcast and how it works that might be worth answering.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a hammer time. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah,
That's right.
I was going to say captive audience.
I can talk about the Formula One race that happened today if you guys.
No, please no.
I'm down, but
Who hurt you, Flo? It's interesting.
I got a call from these two jackasses. It's like, hey, do you want to come over to my house? I was like, dude, come over to your house. Sure, yeah. What are we doing? That sounds like a lot of fun. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna watch Formula One. And I just hung up because I don't know what to do to that.
Fun. It's cool.
No.
Okay, well, I'll transition into questions and we can sort of play on these. Did you see? Oh fuck, I'm gonna do it again. Did you see the TikTok where the guy ended up getting next to the microphone at the track?
You told me about it.
So the announcers are talking and there's just a guy going like mimicking the cars. That got me.
Like it was on cast, right? Like
yeah. The announcers were talking about it. They're like, that guy does pretty good car noises. What do you do? You know. Okay, so. First question and biggest question actually is what happened to Waxual Play? You guys have even asked me about that.
So we part of it is when we were doing it was all of us got COVID except for me, I think. Anyway,
we did. So
like
that was
Lexi,
bad.
Lauren,
me,
Flo.
Lucas,
Flo, and Jay maybe too.
Yeah,
and
Jay got it. Yeah,
a couple other people.
Like
it went through our friends group. And fortunately, everyone's good, and it seemed to be pretty mild for everybody.
But I think we were all fortunate enough to be vaccinated. So, like on my end, I had 2 really shitty days, and then I was back on my feet.
Yeah, mine was 2 to 4.
I think everyone was
super shitty days.
Yeah, the 2 at minimum, and I think several were boosted and everything too. And then,
but I'll follow up that by saying there was 2 to 4 really really shitty days, but. It kind of wipes you out for. I don't have to tell all of you guys this at this point. You've all probably had it, but we were all wiped out for a couple of weeks, and then it was bad.
That ran up to event season as far as Flo's work goes.
Yep.
So I was gone for 3.5 months. We talked about this on the last episode a little bit, but we recorded a lot of episodes. So if last episode sucked, we're sorry, but we hadn't been in the studio in a while.
We've come back with Steak and Shake energy, and it's going to be good this time, probably. One of the questions we'll address later is how the podcast actually gets made, and we can talk more about that buffer.
Yeah.
But there was a probably 6-week period where we weren't doing episodes because we weren't all here to make them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we had like 1 day a week for a while, and so we couldn't get that as well as I think we should be able to now kind of come back to it and finish it out and do maybe something else, because we talked about both Flo for the Patreons to do the fireside chat type stuff or stories. I don't remember the name that you had for them.
Yeah, it's just fireside chats. It's it's the story portion of our episodes, but I went around and gathered some. We actually have some of these ready to go. We just haven't implemented it yet.
Some of them have come out on Patreon. Even like there's the one we did with Darian where he has like a list of stories. Like, which one do you want to hear? 1 through 10.
That's kind of a teaser of what you were looking at doing, basically. I think. I've talked about doing some of the battle game stuff. I just need to sit down and have a day where I write it all out. I guess some of it's also been I'm in office, so I've been having to deal with office stuff, so I've not been as focused on the podcast as maybe I should be in some ways.
That comes first.
Meh.
I mean, brass tacks with Waxual Play. So it's not dead. It is just extremely hard for us to find time to get in and record those episodes. I also would say that as far as like juice versus squeeze, there's some of our less listened to episodes because they don't fit in with the normal theme of what our show is. So that was kind of to be expected. So they don't get a super high volume, but they're still fun to do. Like I still just like playing D&D with my bros. It's basically an excuse to do that. But more than anything, it's the amount of editing time required to do them is ballooned from what our normal episodes are. It easily double, if not triple, what a normal episode takes to edit, which is a normal episode takes me about an hour. And then they take 3 to 4, or 2 to 4, really. Some of them have taken longer because, you have to do the previously on and you have to listen through the whole thing and get the right sound bites. I don't know if people who listen heard, but I actually did like Foley like Foley audio for those.
Yeah.
So like when I say the car starts in the distance, there is the sound of a car starting in the like, and like maybe that's too much, but it's sort of a passion project for me. So it's more or less all of us finding the time to be there to record them, and then finding the time to actually put them together. I think that's just a manpower question more than anything. But we can get into that at some other point, because I do want to look for like people who can edit. But that'll be something we put together and put a call out for.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like I'm not going to say like we're going to find an editor and then just wait for people to mail in. Like I actually have some samples and stuff I want to see people do. So Waxual Play, not dead. I actually originally intended for it to go 10 episodes, and we're as of the last time we did one, we're on track for that. Yeah, we have 4, and I think 3 of them came out. So we have 1 that's unreleased and will probably come out at some point. But there are 10 episodes in mine, and then if it goes really well, we'll continue it. It's the way I have it mapped out. It's pretty flexible, but we may also experiment with other systems like traditional D&D. I know Teflon had a few that he had in mind as well.
Ooh,
Blades in the Dark.
Yeah, I think that one would be a good system for us. It's the same concept as the Monster of the Week.
Monster of the Week.
Yeah. As far as I think at Plaid Hat Games wrote it, same company and everything.
Yeah.
So the D6 aspect of it and more storytelling is good, but it's in a like different setting kind of deal.
Yeah. So Waxual Play, not dead. Just a lot of fucking work and not a lot of time to do it. So those will come out periodically, but we don't have a schedule for them at this point.
Yeah, one of the things to keep in mind too, and Cabbage mentioned this when he said that they were some of our least viewed there. And this is kind of getting into the business side of running a YouTube channel.
Let's fucking do it. Let's go.
I mean, yeah, you set us up to go that way.
Yeah,
so.
right.
Yeah.
So one of the things you have to keep, we do a podcast on foam fighting. That's what we're known for, right? If you've ever thought about doing a podcast or something like that, we made some videos in the past where we kind of walk through with PowerPoint slides. I think Cabbage put those together.
Yeah.
What it is to do a podcast. But looking at this more from the business side, you don't want to alienate your audience, right? People come to us to listen to podcasts about foam fighting stuff. Is that rain? Oh yeah, it's raining. Hey, remind me to go get my peppers out of the thunderstorm that's coming down now.
Sure.
Once we're done here. So you...
Hey, don't forget to get your peppers.
Asshole. So alienating your audience, right? This doesn't mean that they hate you forever. But if you go to a channel and it's a fishing channel where someone is always in their boat and they're going to different lakes and fishing, and then suddenly it's them at a Dave and Buster's with their family. It's not that you hate them. You just go, well, that's cool, but I came here to watch fishing shit, right? So
thank you for the analogy that only Darth Daniel can appreciate.
Hey, Darth Daniel, this was for you.
Yeah.
That's a lie. Vidalia, this was also for you.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, we really enjoy making those. They're a lot of fun. All of us are old D&D nerds.
Mm-hmm.
But we also realize that might not be the forte for all of our audience. That's why those don't come out as our Friday episodes. They're always extra.
Yeah.
To go along with that, a lot of the things that people talk about for trying to start up a Twitch stream or stuff like that is to play the same game every time till you have a following. Because the idea is to build up a following that they're following you and not following the game. And those who are big, streamers and stuff that are followed because of the personality they are, don't have to play the same game anymore because their audience is already trapped for them.
Yep.
But originally, they probably did play a singular game, or maybe 2 at first.
Well, so to continue in on the business end of things as well, both Anchor, which is our audio-only platform that syndicates to Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, and it basically every podcasting service, both Anchor and YouTube offer some pretty detailed analytics. And so as an example, I can tell you that our average listener is between 20 and 35 years old and they're male. Roughly only like 35% of our audience is female, which is still pretty decent, but it's a bunch of dudes, so I get it. And that's kind of the gap that WAP was created to bridge, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But we can see how much of an episode you listen to before you drop out. So if you listen to half an episode and then you give up and never come back, we can actually see where people are dropping out. And so what I use that for is to determine like what our most interesting episodes are. Now, spoiler, it's not going to surprise anybody. The most listened to episodes are Hammertimes, like we're doing right now, which for us are like the easiest episodes in terms of effort.
Yeah, it's weird.
Also weird for me, yeah.
I mean, maybe people like our opinions or like hearing us talk. I don't fucking know.
Apparently.
You guys are weird. But it's Hammertimes, and then it's anytime we have a really high profile guest. So like every time we've had Sir Michael on, fantastic views, of course. Anytime we have a really well-known night, we're going to get a lot of views. And so I have tried not to ever let that influence who our guests are.
Right.
I actually have stopped. I'll look at it like once every couple of months just to see. But I've never wanted that to influence what we do, because that means we're only looking for guests with a lot of clout.
Right.
And like, Teflon and I have both said this, but some of our favorite interviews are Promethea and O'Banion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like those are, unfortunately, some of our least listened to episodes. And if you're listening to this, you should go
watch
listen to
those.
those.
Yeah.
They're awesome. So I don't care right now where people are dropping out, because the content that we're creating is not something where people drop out when we discuss a specific topic. People drop out when they get about 30 minutes into an episode of a guest that isn't very high profile. And that's on you guys to a degree. We could certainly make it more interesting, but I don't want that to influence what we create.
Yeah, if you look at it truly business, if we were like out to make money, we would stop taking these people.
Yeah, we would figure out how to make Mikey a permanent guest on our show.
Yeah, right.
This is another really good thing to do.
That's not the goal.
Yeah,
right?
This is set your goal. The goal that the three of us set is we want to bring you the stories of everyday Amtgarders from all around the foam fighting world. I would love to introduce you to some of the most famous knights in the game, and I feel like we have been able to do that over the course of the show, and we'll continue to look for famous people from different kingdoms that we may not know. But a lot of this show is built on just what I'm going to call the average Joes, right? All of us that just go out and have fun at the park every single week.
Yeah.
And I love making that content. I love telling those stories. I think that those are very relatable because we've all been that person before in some aspect in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. This actually dovetails into another question we've gotten, which is very pie in the sky. Thank you to the person that submitted it, because it far exceeds what we'll ever be able to do. But they said, what will you do if you've interviewed every Amtgarder? Fucking take a day off, retire, right? No, I mean, you probably just hear us talk about video games or something, like mission accomplished, slam dunk, we're done.
Disc golf and F1 or Formula 1 or whatever.
We can do that right now. Let's go. So, I mean, you'll notice we don't usually have guests on twice. There are some examples where we have had somebody back on either, post-event or post-nighting or post-big moment. But by and large, we try to give everybody like a shot to get on the show and not monopolize with one single guest or anything. So, just in terms of like the content we create and things like that, it's just getting the stories out there, like they said.
Except Jay. We've had Jay on. We've had Subway on quite a bit.
Jay, okay. Subway is like an unofficial member of the show at this point, because like he dead ass listens to every episode, and he'll come up to me and be like, "Hey man, so you said this thing, and like, do you really think that?" And I'm like, "Maybe you're gonna have to remind me."
Yeah, I don't remember
how many
what
episodes was that.
Yeah, that was the one that released this week. We did that one 6 months ago.
Yeah.
We do get people that will come up to us at events and say, I just now listened to episode 8, and whatever you say after that, we've forgotten. I'm just going to tell you, you'll have to remind us or let us hear the clip or something.
We're happy to talk about the show with you, to be clear.
We are.
This isn't a go-away thing.
No, not at all. It's just we're dumb.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I did yesterday most of the time. But yeah, this is one of those things where, decide what your goal is, to kind of circle back around. We wanted to reach out to as many different kingdoms as we could and tell as many different stories as we could. At the heart of this podcast, we are just a story, a vehicle for telling stories, right?
Yeah.
And I still think that there is a whole lot of good stories out there to tell.
Tons of them, I'm sure, yeah.
What will we do if we've interviewed every single Amtgarder? We will go back and start finding more stories, because by the time we do that, all of those people we already interviewed will have new stories to tell us.
Yeah, like this is it's really an evergreen thing that we can tap into, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of hit on it. We officially had the Belt Months segment for a while, but we've kind of unofficially been going through trying to get people from every kingdom at this point, and we've gotten half, roughly. I mean, that's very napkin math, but and we were trying to get multiple people from each kingdom, like 2 or 3 people from each kingdom. There's a couple that we have multiple from, largely because our friend group extends to those or something like that, and it was just easy. But
a lot of times too, our guests will put us on to people like, oh, you're trying to get somebody from Golden Plains. Here's who you need to talk to. Or like,
no joke. When Merrick and Imhog were here, we were like, we have some blank spots, and it took about 5 minutes, and they
just started filling. You can't see it, but we have a dry erase board over here with every single kingdom that we haven't interviewed, and I would say 90% of them now have names for us to follow up with. That Michael was like, "Oh no, contact this person."
Yeah, so big shout out to them for helping us out with that one for sure.
Yeah.
Once again, dovetailing nicely into the next question we get, which is, how do I get on the show? And then follow up to that from some specific people. Why does it take my episode so long to come out? So first off, how do you get on the show? Ask us. Just shoot us a message. You can message the WAK Facebook channel at pretty much any point. We might not get back to you right away, but like.
So I want to answer this in 2 parts. First,
$25.
First, send us a message. Right, because we're always looking for fun stories.
I think all 3 of us are open for like our personal Facebook messages as well, right? Like,
yeah.
So I'm Jeff Ross on Facebook.
Lucas Bailey.
And Flo Ampgard.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm not anymore.
Flo Thunderhammer.
Yeah.
I had to change my name because of the
I guess I should add the parentheses thing for the Teflon thing. I don't know how to do that because I'm a boomer basically on the line.
But I had to change it because of the Ampgard name dispute. So I used to be Flo Ampgard. Now I'm Flo Thunderhammer. So my two-part answer to this is, one, just message us, right? We're happy to talk. I will tell you right now that we will not be able to have every single person that messages us on the show, at least not in a timely manner.
Yeah, the timely manner thing is the big point. The big point.
We've had to reschedule with someone like 3 or 4 times because of random scheduling things.
And dude, he's such a cool guy. I feel so bad that we've had to reschedule. But he's a very busy person. We're also very busy.
Recently, at the very least.
Yeah, recently, and so
my schedule switched basically 12 hours difference, so I've been having to deal with that at least for this week.
The second part of how do I get on the show that I'm going to kind of fill in here is, we don't know every single kingdom. We were very fortunate that Imhog knew a lot of people in different kingdoms. If you are a listener from your kingdom and you haven't heard any guests from that kingdom, I want you to message us as soon as you hear this and say, there's this really cool person in our kingdom. Everyone loves them, and I think they would be great to have on the show. And send us their name, because we want to be able to showcase your kingdom and showcase the really cool people. But I got to be honest, my contacts are starting to run dry. I've got a lot of crusty old men in my phone, and that's about it.
Well, and some of them just don't pick up when you call.
Yeah, some of them don't pick up when I call.
How is Arthon these days?
Arthon, if you're listening to
this.
He's not.
He's absolutely not.
Nope.
Which you are not.
Delos, tell Arthon to listen.
I miss you.
And then why does my episode take so long to come out? So like Flo has said several times, we usually record these in batches, especially Flo and I work for the same company. And so when he gets busy, I also get busy, usually in different ways, but the workload increases pretty much linearly. So what happens is we have to record these in batches because Flo is going to be traveling for work for the next month. Like, I think the entire month of March, you were only in town for 2 days.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we had to have 4 episodes in the tank to have ready to go. And we had more than that just to cover, if your flights got delayed on that weekend or whatever. So we often end up recording, several of these. Chronologically, it's kind of a nightmare. This will be kind of interesting because we're wearing the same thing that we were wearing in the last episode. But if you're the keen-eyed among you will notice that sometimes we'll be dressed like this for one episode, and then 5 episodes later we'll be dressed exactly like this, and that's because we recorded those in the same day.
Yeah.
As for how those get released, if your kingdom has an event that's coming up, that would make sense for us to release it like in tandem with that event, so people coming in on the weekend will have something to talk about.
Such as the keep.
We did that for the Black Spire folks recently.
Yeah, it's more.
Yeah.
Shout out to Black Spire.
Yeah, that was a really cool interview actually. So we try to consider when we release these what's going to be most effective. Not for us, because again, we purposefully don't care about our metrics, right? Like we almost deliberately blind ourselves to them because we don't want that to sway what we create.
Yeah.
But for you or for the guest, if there is a way we can release that episode for you in a way that's good, whether you're plugging something cool, if there's a cool event, something like that, that's how we release them. So I think it was it Lily whose episode kept getting pushed back?
Yeah.
Okay,
really
so
sorry.
Lily, I know that you listened to this, and I'm going to apologize again because I know that this was really weird. We ended up with this chain of guests who were going to be having an event coming out that they're like, hey, could you hype up our event? Yeah, dude, we'd love to hype up your event. That sounds great. And we have the same dry erase board that's over here that you can't see has all of the episodes that we have in the bank and whether they've come out and blah, blah, blah. We realized that at one point we had recorded with Sir Death Lily, and his episode had been sitting up there for maybe 2 months.
6 weeks at least.
Wow.
And that's way longer than we normally go, but it's because we knew that mine and Cabbage's schedule is somewhat tied to the school schedule, right? So getting close to finals and stuff like that is a really busy time for us. We knew that we were going to be hitting this, so we recorded a lot of episodes, more than we've ever done, which is saying something because we can kind of get a whole lot going in the tank. And he messaged me at one point. He's like, did I say something wrong? I'm really sorry. I was like, no. And I didn't know what he was talking about. I was, no, you didn't say anything wrong. What are you talking about?
Also, legit, he was on the very short list of like, hey, if we don't have anyone that we can get on,
let's just call him back up.
Yeah.
Because it was such a fun episode for us to do. And he was I was joking when I said that, but he was really checking in to see and make sure that he didn't say anything offensive on the show, and that's why we hadn't put it out or something. No, that was not it at all. And he's not the only one that's contacted us and said, hey, where's my episode? Did everything go okay? Did I make you guys mad? Did I say something you can't air? You didn't. We have the adult rating on all of our stuff for a reason because I cuss constantly.
Our intro cusses.
I worked construction for a while, so it's kind of just embedded.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the answer to that is we will get a catalog of episodes built up so that one, and I'm actually going to put this as the most important, so that we can take a break, right? Mm-hmm. We will do. Sometimes we're recording anywhere from 2 to 5 episodes a week.
Yep.
And there's times where we need a month off.
Yeah, we do a lot of push and coast. We'll push and record a lot of episodes at once, and then we just stop for a little bit. And
I think that part of that is that's just kind of our personalities with creation of stuff too, is that we'll get on a kick and we'll be on it for a little bit, and then we'll just want to do anything for a while. And all of us seem to be synced up on that to some degree.
It's worked out pretty nicely because we do all end up on the like, hey, we should record one this week just because, So that does work out.
You don't have to be perfect at all of this. We're still learning, right? What we learned when we had built up that big tank and we had 3 or 4 different people think that they had offended us in some way was to start numbering them on the whiteboard and go, okay, we actually need to have a queue, a full queue, not just a list of episodes, but when did we record it? And so we have a number. Because
also maybe, unless it's needed like we did for that time, not get that many episodes lined up that quickly.
Yeah, and this again, your mileage will vary. If you guys decide to start a podcast or a Twitch stream or something, maybe you can have a whole lot recorded. Mm-hmm. But for us, it seems like 6 is about our Goldilocks zone, where if we go over that, it takes us forever to get to some of the episodes because we put them out of order, and someone will call and say, hey, I've got an event to hype. Do you want to do our kingdom? And we'll go, yeah, sure, and not even think about it. So 6 works for us.
Well, so to add to that too, if we get too deep into the sauce, what happens is I forget what we talked about in that episode, and I still have to name it and give it a description and try to put show notes in. So we've been called out on it a few times where it's like, oh, Cabbage will put the image here, we'll put the link below, and then I don't do it, and it's because that episode we recorded 6 weeks ago. I did the initial edit, but didn't upload it to YouTube because I don't want it to sit there for 6 weeks and I'll bump something and it'll come out early. So I have to do the notes, like the week before, and I have to remember what we discussed 5 weeks before that. And so I'm like, I'm having to I'm literally, because I can't re-listen to the whole episode most of the time because I'm busy. So I'm having to skip through every 5 minutes and try to find, if I missed something. And I used to try to take really detailed notes, but people who watch those episodes of the show can notice that I'm taking notes and I'm not paying attention.
Right.
So I cannot be both Jamie and Joe Rogan at the same time. For better or for worse. I don't care for Joe Rogan, but you get the idea.
Yeah. other things going on here. So set your goal to say it a third time, and then everything will revolve around that goal, right? How many episodes you want to put out a week, what kind of content you're going to be delivering. All of that's going to revolve.
Your schedule, honestly.
Yeah, your schedule.
Yeah.
And
Dude,
we've touched on it multiple times, but always start from this position. This is not your life. This is your hobby. It should always be treated as a hobby. Don't ever get into a position where you're like, well, I have to. As soon as that comes out, you're done. You've crossed a line, in my opinion. You don't have to. You want to do this. This has to be a fun thing for you.
Flo and I have ended up in the position.
Dude, that TikTok guy, had a legit TikTok on the want to versus
I want to.
Yeah.
No, I need to. No.
Yeah.
No, Flo and I have legitimately ended up in the scenario where Flo calls me on a Monday and goes, "Hey, we don't have an episode for this week." And I go, "Oh, fuck, we don't." And then Jeff goes, "Oh, shit, we don't have an episode for this week." And we all come to that, and it's like, well, I don't have time until Thursday night. And so we would have to record Thursday night, do the edit, get it uploaded, and have it released. And I said, guys, we don't make money off of this. Like, this is not, like, this isn't our fucking job. We can just take a week off. I'm just going to say, hey, guys, we're too busy this week. And, like, you can do that. Don't make a habit of it, right? If you're having to do that too frequently, you should change your release schedule.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We've been pretty good about doing a week-to-week thing. We've missed up, like, I think in the grand history, 3 or 4 weeks in almost 2 years of this. So,
it's been almost 2 years.
Yeah, we're almost 2.
Man,
yeah.
We got to do something special for our 100th episode.
I'm
think that we've
drunk
only
on the show. I'm getting fucking flavor blasted like a Dorito. That episode is going to be unairable. Y'all don't even know.
Bro, if you bring me vodka shots, we're good.
We're going to do vodka and pre-workouts.
There we go.
I was going to say the studio
down.
is going to be unairable if you're just...
No, we should celebrate. But yeah, like, I've had to say, like, we don't make money off this. We're just going to take a week off. Like, we can do that. Okay, so we don't make money off this. Technically not true. We have a Patreon. Some people have asked, like, what do you guys do with your Patreon funds and everything like that? Mostly replace broken equipment.
Yeah, we joked about this in the last one. Hopefully these two will be coming out back to back. Who
They
knows?
will. Yeah. We don't have another one in the buffer, so they kind of have to.
But we really do. Like, Patreon money, what do we do with it? Right now, we don't have a huge Patreon pool. We would love to have more, but this is expensive. This is a side of the show that we don't talk about very much, but total, the equipment to do this
is $65 a mic, probably $20 a stand. This console is $600-ish.
Yeah.
The camera was
$1,300.
Yeah, so there's all of that.
By the way,
also those were I was gonna say those were bought because that stuff Flo wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't directly for the podcast necessarily.
No, that camera sits on a stand but can also be taken off. I do a lot of backpacking hiking. I do a lot of hiking and stuff that I would love to take that on. I just now ordered a little clip for your backpack called the PD.
The Peak Design backpack clip?
Yeah, that's
dude,
exactly
give me a
what
review
it
on
is.
because I've been thinking about buying one, but it's like
Yeah,
$60.
you want to take it out because it's just a clip. You can switch it out. But yeah, so that camera was really expensive, but it was really expensive. You can go buy. We used a
the Logitech,
a Logitech
1080 webcam
forever, and it was perfectly fine. We could still be doing the entire podcast with that Logitech. It wouldn't hurt anything at all. You don't have to spend money on this.
$15 Walmart special webcam will work for a while.
Okay, so I will say this. You don't have to spend this kind of money on these things. And we say that in our How to Create a Podcast thing that I did.
Yeah.
You do not have to spend a lot of money on this. Every dollar we've spent has made this infinitely easier to create.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, there is definitely a return on your investment. So that's not to say, like, our Patreon fans are paying us back for our microphones and our cameras. That'll never happen. We don't have that many Patreons.
No.
But... like, Flo's got a dodgy mic cable, and the mic stands are the cheapest ones you could get from Amazon.
Yeah, we took all the springs off that are supposed to do things, and they
don't
do anything.
They
They
without the springs.
They were literally just for show.
Yeah. So we replaced broken equipment because the cheap stuff does break fairly quickly. I think a couple of months ago we had. So on my end, I have the server that contains all of our stuff that we edit from and everything else, and all the softwares to edit, and so. I don't even know how much that server cost. I don't want to think about it for too long. A lot. But we had a disk die in it, and
3 zeros after it.
Yeah, it's got 3. We had a disk die. We had one of the disks in our Raider die, and that is a heavily backed up server, so we didn't lose anything. But I had to replace that disc, and that's where the Patreon money came in. So it's not like the Patreon buys all of our equipment for us, but it makes it a lot easier when we need to replace stuff.
Yeah.
So what do we do with the Patreon money? Mostly that. It's sitting in I don't even know how much we've got right now, probably $60 or so. That's just kind of sitting waiting for us to have to replace some stuff. We don't party with that money or anything like that. So
Not yet.
Not yet. Listen, hey,
But hey,
that money's got to get us to keep.
yeah, right.
So pony up.
But yeah, the other, that's another choice that you need to make too. If this is something you're interested in doing, do you want to start a Patreon? I have talked to. There's a lot of content creators that do foam fighting, right? Hogman, Merrick. I'm probably missing a whole
Delos,
lot. Delos, Kodiak, Kingdom of Kodiak.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So there's a whole lot of content creators out there. Some of them do Patreon, some of them don't. Some of them, like Godric, I think that he had, or maybe it wasn't Godric. I don't remember who it was that I talked to now, but they had talked about the fact that they don't ever want to start a Patreon. So it's a choice on what you want to do there. What we decided is that we didn't have one through all of the pandemic because everybody's struggling, right? We didn't feel comfortable starting it then.
Mm-hmm.
We started as soon as the pandemic was over, and we're always pretty transparent with you about what we're doing with it, which is why we were comfortable telling you how much is in there right now, right? I mean, this is one of those things where we really, really appreciate anyone who wants to donate anything to the show, and we're going to tell you what it's for. So.
Yeah, I mean, so to kind of glom onto what you said there, I struggle a lot with making Patreon exclusive content because I don't like putting parts of our show behind a paywall. We've done it. There are some things on Patreon that will never make the main YouTube channel, like Storytime with Darian. And some things release earlier on Patreon when we can think to do it. But yeah, we don't. If you support us on Patreon, it is because you like us enough to give us some money. I do want to make more Patreon exclusive stuff that's timed, like it comes out a few weeks before it hits YouTube. That would be cool. That's a lot of coordinating against different platforms because Patreon is its own island. Anything you do on Patreon, you're doubling the work that you have to do anywhere else, or tripling depending on what you do. So it's one of those things where I struggle with making stuff that other people won't see just because somebody gave me some money, because this isn't about that. But also, we got a Patreon because we didn't even realize someone was giving us money. So Anchor, the platform we use for our podcasting, has a donation function built into it. We had never advertised it or posted it or anything. And I think it was Alona. We talked about this a while back, but Alona somehow found it, tracked it down, found it, and started donating us like $5 a month. And I was like, how do I get the money out? Like, we didn't even have a card attached to it. I was like, what? But then it was like, she said, you guys have a really cool thing. I want to support you guys. And I said, well, maybe other people do too. And doing it through, because I tried to reverse engineer how she got there, and I'm still confused because it's way clunky. So I was like, I'm just going to do a Patreon. And I messaged Lana. I was like, hey, if you want to contribute money, do it through Patreon. So if we do bonuses or something, you can get it, and stop doing it through here. It'll be easier. Even if Patreon takes a little bit of a cut, like, again, we don't care. We just want it to be easy. So we literally started a Patreon because we went, oh, fuck, people want to pay us. So that was kind of how that came about.
Yep.
Someone asked what happened to WAP. Nothing. Again, schedules.
Yeah. It's tough to get all of the scheduling together and for the hosts' schedules to line up. We talked about that earlier in this episode. The three of us are pretty close. Mm-hmm. We all live in the same area. We all we hang out with each other multiple times per week.
3-4 times a week.
Yeah,
we're hanging out at some point or another.
We're lifting or doing this or playing disc golf or something, right?
Watching F1.
Watching Formula One.
Yeah.
Playing disc golf.
Two of us are watching Formula One.
Could be three.
But it's still we've hit points where it was hard to get together for an episode, and the WAP crew doesn't live in the same area, and there's so it's tough. We're really hoping that some more WAP episodes will come out. I think that is a perspective that is underrepresented in our game, and
actually,
absolutely,
SKBC had like a women's meetup thing or something like that just recently, and it was really cool to read about. I don't remember where it was posted though.
Boy, that would be a good premise for a WAP episode.
I know, right?
I might get Lauren on that. Yeah, they also Quan, they do not they work like a seasonal thing. So sometimes they're in, I think, Chattanooga, and then sometimes they're God knows where else. So
they work in a lot of different places, and some of those do not have internet connection.
Yeah,
or stable at the very least.
Stable, yeah.
And at one point they were living in like Georgia, so it's more like when can we get everybody together to do this thing, and it just happens less frequently. Vidalia has toyed with the idea of doing some solo episodes. I feel like you got to have at least one co-host to bounce stuff off of, but if she wants to do it, I don't care.
This is an interesting thing too. I've gotten some feedback from more than one person over our time doing the show that having multiple hosts is kind of one of the unique things about us, right? There's a lot of people out there that have single host shows. But when you have a single host show, you can't have your friends tell you, no, that's wrong or you're dumb. I have the advantage of being able to have two friends on that tell me, no, that's wrong and you're dumb all of the time. They just tell me I'm dumb all of the time.
Without me, who's going to say ANS glory hole on the show?
God, that one sucked so bad.
We do not rehearse these or anything like that.
Oh,
so
no,
you have to
quite the opposite.
You have to understand that when dimes like that get dropped, then we can't pause the show. We're too lazy to do that.
I'm so flattered. I mean, there's no rehearsal. It's honest to God, just dynamic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We all work together.
And again, if you go, for any of us that's been watching from the very, very beginning, it means a whole lot to us. But if you go back and watch some of those earlier episodes, when we go back and listen to them, which we don't, it's pretty cringeworthy for us, right? Because we only hear the things that we did bad. I think that
as a fun game for the people that want to do this, and it's nobody, go to the early first 5 episodes and count how many times I say the phrase absolutely.
Absolutely.
See, the problem is it's a verbal crutch of mine already too, so it's not good.
We didn't. I want to be very clear. We didn't have that before we started doing this show.
Oh, I did. that absolutely happened.
Well,
Jeff had that. We didn't. Me and Lucas did not.
I got into my own head a little bit because I was like, we're going to make a podcast. How do I speak good? How do I talk good at people? And, one of the things was don't say
Yeah.
That's always a public speaking thing is try not to say And so my idiot brain, I said, oh, well, I'll just say a fancier word. So I'd go absolutely to buy myself time to think of the next thing to say when I could have just said nothing or said and that would have been more organic. So you'll learn.
Yep.
Sometimes.
What are the questions we got over there?
We got 2 left. I just checked my phone. Cool. So we have 2 left, and we can choose what order to tackle these in because one is certainly going to be longer than the other. The first question I think we should tackle is, what do you guys have coming down the pike? Which is a nebulous fucking question that we can never really answer. And then sort of a broader question on the future of the show. And then the other question is, how does an episode get made?
Ooh.
Let's do how it gets made.
Yeah, let's do
because I think the other one's going to be a weird one.
No, this is how it gets made because we'll get copyright struck if we call it the other thing.
I don't think they care. So how does an episode get made? So
usually about 8 o'clock we start recording. So Jeff falls into Flo's house about 7:45 to 7:55.
Yeah. Comes screeching in sideways. That Jeep flips, but it's a Jeep, so he just
rolls.
By and large, to start before it ever gets recorded, Flo finds us a guest.
Mm-hmm.
That's been how that
That's Flo's job.
Yeah, I'm not social, so Flo is the talky person.
Hi. Yeah, I over my time have collected a lot of phone numbers and stuff where we would be in a kingdom, and I would, hey, let's go get some food. I need your number so we can text, and then I just bother them decades later.
Sometimes absolutely true.
Who are you and how did you get this number?
Yeah, hey,
we ate at Waffle House that one time.
Hey, this is Flo. You remember when we went out and got Subway 18 years ago? Well, I was wondering if you wanted to come on our Hello?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. That's happened. But yeah, so I look around, see who's interested in coming on the show, pull them in, give them the spiel. We have a little copy and paste spiel of how we do things from the backside, right? The listeners know what it sounds like, but from the backside, there's a spiel that you need to know. Hey, we prefer you to have a headset because if we're picking up a lot of room sound and cars passing by and your cat meowing, then it can be distracting for our listeners. From there,
or us.
Or us, yeah.
You got a dog? Can we see it?
This is the after episode almost every single time.
Oh, yeah.
From there...
Shit, there's another question. Go ahead, sorry.
From there, we schedule a time that works, which is its own monster. We get them on the show. We always do a sound check before we start, all of the stuff, the normal stuff that you would think of. And again, we mentioned this before. All you need to do an episode is Zoom, which is you can do for free, but paying for an episode doesn't cost all that much. Any headset, you can go out and buy a $5 headset.
Bro, you got the fucking iPod earbuds. Those are great.
Yeah.
Honest to God, they're good.
Yeah.
Several of our guests have used those, and it's been some of the better audio quality that we've had. And boom. And it's because while Lucas mentioned that all of this stuff has made it a lot easier for us, we got all of this stuff because we decided this was something we want to continue doing.
It's a hobby. You spend a lot of money on your hobbies with no expectation.
We just chose podcasting instead of ham radio, so...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Also, to be clear, when we start recording these episodes, Flo said we do a sound check, and that's pretty much it. We'll talk to our guests beforehand to get them warmed up and, kind of get them in the flow of talking to three idiots.
Yeah.
But we don't send questions beforehand. We don't even know what we're going to ask until we're in the episode.
I mean, that's something we can get on in a little bit, too, is we did that, or you guys did that
The first
originally.
couple of episodes, we did have like a bank of questions to ask.
And it felt very robotic. We didn't like it. Our guests didn't really like it. We don't think we didn't really ask them because we didn't like it, and that was the really important part. This was another thing where our goals shifted. We used to have 2-hour episodes. If you've been currently binging the episodes, which I know some of our listeners have contacted me and said they are, you may remember some of the early ones were 2 hours, and we decided that 2 hours was not a good conversational length, and that we wanted to have conversations back and forth. Having scripted questions didn't really help out with that.
Yeah, we aim now for an hour, but if we go over, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And if we go under because the conversation has naturally ended, that's also fine. We shoot for an hour. And episodes that are only 45 minutes or the episodes that are 2 hours, it's not because we liked one guest more than the other. It's just because that guest had more to say. Some of our guests do have like time frames too, like, hey, I got to,
the kid's got to be in bed.
Whatever.
Work in the morning, something like that.
Some of them are teachers, so they're like, hey, I got to get up in 4 hours and teach a bunch of kids how to not be assholes in society. And we're like, oh, get out of here.
I'm so sorry, Kazan. That we keep you so late every time you're on the show.
So, like, it genuinely, like, that 2 hour constraint we've sort of swayed away from. Not as a hard and fast rule. If we have an episode that goes 2 hours, hey, cool.
Great.
But we're not trying to stretch an episode that far, which we were before.
Yeah. Again, we're trying to tell your story. People want to know you. They want to know your kingdom. They want to know the cool things that are going on there so they can decide if they want to go and do those cool things with you in this shared atmosphere of Amtgard or Dagorhir Belagard that we have.
Yeah, well, we also, as a part of that shift, was we had talked about, and I forget who, but somebody messaged us and said, hey, thanks for that episode. I actually was at an event with this guy, and I felt so much more comfortable talking to him after listening to your episode.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and we said, oh, that's what we want. Like, that's what we're going for. So we stopped doing the pre-canned questions and letting people know what we were going to ask ahead of time because we wanted you to hear what an actual conversation with that person sounded like.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And in as organic a format as you can get when you're being recorded, which is, not very organic, but it's,
right.
It's as best we can do, right?
It usually takes about 10 minutes for most people to kind of get warmed up to talking.
Yeah. Which is, the pre-show, how's your day, how's the dog?
Yeah, that's where we learned to not do that on the show and do a little bit of just, hey, how's it going? Then we kind of feel each other out, and then we establish a unspoken talking order kind of thing, which I'm usually interrupting anyway.
But yeah, what we did instead of all of those things is we became more episodic, like an episode of Cooking with Alden Brown or something else, where we always have the same intro, right? Who are you and how'd you get into foam fighting? We go over some of the things in their wiki or some of the things that sound fun, and nothing is scripted. If you say something that sounds interesting to one of us, then we'll go down that rabbit hole with you.
Yeah, that first question is absolutely a punt. Like, it gets the ball down the field for us to do something else. So, not that we don't care who you are and how you got into foam fighting, but that always opens the door to more questions we can follow up on.
Yeah, I mean, it's someone sent me a cut up sound clip of Cabbage saying over and over again. Now hold on just a moment. Tell me a little bit more about that. And because he said it, over the course of our 75 episodes, 48 times.
We're on almost our 90th episode.
Oh, we're on almost our 90th?
Bro.
Oh.
You are killing me. Yes.
You remember when I 50, said,
right?
Yeah, you remember when I said I don't remember what I did yesterday?
Yeah, I got you.
Thanks for 90 episodes, everyone. But yeah, this is just meant to really get us going, because we're going to be able to find something interesting for you to say there. But yeah, so instead of scripted, very very much sort of segments where we have early segment, which is get to know you. Middle segment where we're talking about some things that are in your discipline. So if you do a lot of service, you do a lot of A&S, you do a lot of something, we can ask you questions about that stuff.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, it's our story time and thanking all of our longtime listeners and people that are new and all of this stuff, right? Our calls to action, please subscribe. All of the regular YouTube stuff.
Well, so that end question, the tell us a crazy story, has unintentionally worked as a really good vamping spot for us, because we don't have a lot of places where we can inject the, hey, like, share, subscribe, Patreon, blah, 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 blah. So we hit our guest with that question, and they need to think about it for a second. So we can bullshit, and we can talk about that. Mm-hmm. And it also sort of sets up the episode for, this is sort of the ending point, so this story will kind of bring us to a close. So it is... it's not like the Hook pulling the man off the stage, but it's like, hey, this is sort of our natural ending point. We want to hear just your thing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's worked out that way. As far as how the episodes get made, though, all of that happens, and then we go home. Maybe we eat afterwards, but we go home. The way that our workflow is set up is basically, like we said, all this equipment makes it easier. All of this stuff gets automatically uploaded to a server I have in my house. So when I get home, the episode's already waiting for me. There's no moving SD cards around. There's nothing like that.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, right. And everything's networked, so I don't even have to download the episode. It's all done on the server. So I get home. Usually I don't do anything that night, because right now it's 11:17.
Yeah.
So I go home and go to sleep. And then the next day I'll preliminary edit the audio, just applying all of our normal gates and stuff. If there's a fan noise in the background, I'll edit that out. There's some episodes that take more editing than others. Depending on what the environment's like. Our setup is pretty static, so it's pretty easy. Sometimes the guest will not have a good headset or something like that, so we do a lot of cleanup there. No shade to any of our guests. We don't expect you to have a podcasting setup in your home.
Right.
It would be nice if you did, but I'm not. Again, we said this was expensive, so don't. So I do preliminary editing of the audio just to make sure nothing's screwed up, because we have had issues in the past where it's like, oh shit, it's Friday at 10 o'clock and we've got 2 hours. What do we do? So I make sure to get those edited basically the day after. And then I just sort of leave them for a little bit, because like Flo said, we usually have a queue. So that one just goes into the pile, and I go in to upload it. Usually on Tuesdays, I'll go to the front of the pile, grab that episode, splice in the video. So the audio and the video are done separately and then lined up. That all gets baked down into an MP3 file for the audio only and an MP4 file for YouTube. And they get uploaded usually on Tuesday night, and they're just sitting there waiting. They're scheduled, waiting to drop. So from that point, for the edit takes probably, like I said, an hour about to do all of that, and probably another 20 minutes or so for the preliminary audio. And so then day of, we'll go through and do show notes, anything like that needs to get plugged. We usually reach back out to our guests and say, hey, what links did you need in the show? And they'll send us a list of links, and we just drop it right in.
Yeah.
And when we have special Patreon content, that's a whole separate process. Usually I end up doing it the week before the episode comes out if I have time. So it's really just a matter of what we've got, time to do. But in a nutshell, it's Flo sets up the guests. We all come in and record. I go home and edit, and then you hear the episode on Friday.
I'm lazy.
You're part of the show. You're here doing this thing.
Yeah. Jeff's the talent.
Jeff's the talent. Who was it? Somebody said you're the wizened pipe and slippers old man. I'm the funny guy, and Jeff's the everyman.
Yeah, something like that.
We don't do that on purpose. It just works out.
Yeah.
This is a real Mythbuster sort of thing where we did not come in here meaning to be archetypical. Sort of stuff. But
we are just stereotypes.
We are. Everyone is.
Okay, so final questions. What's coming down the pike for the future?
So, I don't remember if it was this one or the last one, but we had mentioned that we were unofficially going to every kingdom, which kind of actually official.
Yeah, I mean, we're working our way through them. We've got there's still quite a few kingdoms up on the board there that we need to contact some people, but we wanted to make sure that we touched every single kingdom in Amtgard and heard from someone there. And if the person that we got from your kingdom, if you think that there is someone else that would be really, really cool, I think it was earlier in this episode that I mentioned.
Yeah, just reach out to us. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We're not from your kingdom. We don't know everybody, so we want to get your fun, cool, funny people on the show as well. So
yeah, I mean, as far as like improvements or content, things like that, I have long hinted that I want to do a live episode at Keep, and I am going to Keep this year.
Yep, same.
Everything lines up, so that's something we would like to do. Was it this episode or the last episode where I mentioned I'm going to look for somebody to help edit?
Maybe the last one. I don't remember.
Okay. So yeah, that's
it's nearly midnight.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get through it. Sorry, guys.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, I'm putting together kind of like a unit test right now, and I'm gonna eventually, here in the next, by the time you guys hear this, it might already be up. But look for an editor that we can send episodes to that I can tap into the server and they can pull content. Not so I can step away from editing entirely, but so that we can have two people editing, because there's a lot of content we want to do. If I'm a little more freed up, we have more time for Waxual play. And if I'm more freed up, we have some time to get WAP back up and running like it probably should be. So those are all things that we want to get fixed with an editor helping out.
Yeah, I mean, we had someone ask us at one point, because if, again, I've had probably 5 people in the past week contact me and say, hey, I'm starting to binge. I didn't know you guys were doing this. Again, very, very thankful that we have more people hopping on. But what they had said is in earlier episodes, you mentioned doing this and you mentioned doing that, and like fireside chats and specific videos and stuff like that. We still absolutely want to do those. The problem that we run into is that it's just the 3 of us. And as Lucas mentioned with the Waxual play stuff, all of the extras, unfortunately, also take a lot more editing. And we're still learning how to do a lot of this. We talked about doing a lot of that before we really understood the amount of extra work that goes into it. The fireside chats that I had pulled together and edited, when we did the tribute to Kelbo, that was maybe 9 or 10 different guests. I'm still very happy that we did it. Kelbo was an amazing person. It represented about 5.5 hours worth of just editing. To get it together.
And again, no shade, but you kind of shot yourself in the foot, because everybody you didn't get on that episode wanted to get in on it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
why
people
didn't you
feel
call
bad
me for that? And it's like, bro, with what time?
Yeah, people feel bad that that they weren't able to get in, because of course he had a bunch of friends. But yeah, so this is definitely a situation where once we realized the amount of work, none of those things were ever taken off the table. I think that again it was either because both of these are coming out, we're recording both of these at the same time. It was either the last one or this one where Jeff mentioned that he had been wanting to do some videos, stuff like that. None of those are off the table. All of those are still things that we want to do. But we have to take into consideration everyone's time and work schedules. I can't just record, several hours worth of stuff and then dump it in Lucas's lap and say, edit this and get back to me.
Please.
Yeah, because that's basically where I'm at with some of the battle game aspect of stuff. I could probably tape them by myself or whatever and kind of get the content together, but it'd be like, hey, Lucas, here's file. I'm out.
You just said you could tape them, so I don't trust you with any of them. You're done.
But yeah, it's definitely something to think about when you are going to do this. The general rule, and I think we mentioned this when we were doing our How to Do podcast earlier, the general rule is that it takes you about twice as long to edit as it does to create. We've been able to cut that down quite a bit because we've been doing it for a while. But I think,
and because of thousands of dollars in equipment, to be clear.
Yeah, and because of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. But honestly, if you really look at the total time to cut all of the audio, the total time to upload it to YouTube and do all of the scheduling and stuff, I would say that Lucas is still probably north of an hour, maybe under an hour and a half for our hour-long episodes.
Yeah, that post episode, yeah, that's about right. So yeah, another editor will free us up. The other option, if we don't get anyone to edit, is we could go to every other week, which would essentially double the amount of time I have to do stuff. But we really don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't think that any of us want to do that.
It's not been hard to get an episode out every week. It's just been hard to get an episode out every week and do all the other extracurriculars. And if we've got to keep one thing, it's going to be our core
absolutely
product, our masthead, this show.
So don't give up on all of the extra stuff that we if you've heard us mention it on a show, it is in a list, and we absolutely still want to do it if we remember. But the big thing here is trying to be respectful of everyone's time too. And that's another thing that if we end up getting a more Patreons, or we have more money available for that, maybe that's where that would go, is we get an editor so that we can provide more content. This is what I mean when I say we want to be able to provide you guys more content, and that's one of the ways that might happen, right? Did you say we had a couple more?
So one goof 'em up, and then one serious question. I'll start with the serious question.
Sure.
I don't know how much we can get into it, so this might be a pass.
Gotcha.
But the question was, have you ever said no to a guest, or have you ever had to redact or reshoot an episode?
I don't think we've said no yet.
So
we have said no to one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And we're not going to name names because we're not here to shame people, but we have said no to one particular guest just because it wasn't going to be a good fit for the show.
Yeah. Again, set a goal for yourself, and then keep that goal in mind whenever you're deciding who you want to have on. You also have to think about this too, and this might not be fair, and we've never run into this up to this point, but there are some people that are super cool people that don't communicate well in this format, right? This isn't the type of format where they shine the best, and that's something that, fair or not, you have to think about. So, I mean, I just want to put out there too, we've never, the one time we've said no was not like to politically ice somebody or anything like that. It was just because we weren't sure that we were going to be able to like get the point across that they wanted to make. And so, if you come into the show with an agenda, that's fine. People want to hype their events and stuff, and we're cool with that. But, if you come in and the agenda is something we're not necessarily comfortable having put up, we're dodgy on that. Yeah. We have had to reshoot one episode as well. Yeah. And I'll be very candid about that. That was Kodiak, and that was not on Kodiak, to be very clear. Man. And we showed up to that thing dog-ass tired.
Yeah, not a single one of us. Sometimes when we do a recording, one or two of us are like not fully in it, and it's not that like we're not paying attention to somebody. It's that like that day was hard, that day was tiring, or whatever. And usually one or the other of us can kind of carry through the episode, and then like as things happen, the others get who are just off that day get interested, and then kind of find a second wind and things like that. Yeah. None of us happen to be able to carry us through the Kodiak thing, and we got done. We're like, bro, we did this guy a disservice. We need to get
dude. Kodiak is.
We owe it to him to do a better episode. Yeah. Let's call him back.
Kodiak is such a cool individual. His show that he does is amazing. He had us on, and we had him on. It was kind of a trade, and it was so embarrassing to call him back and say, hey, we want to have you back on. And I think that there was a time there where he actually thought that we didn't like him or something like that. Again, this is that whole like, did I do something wrong sort of thing. But no, it was definitely a situation where this, again, is you learn as you go.
We're also big dumb idiots, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. You learn as you go, and what we learned is, I don't even remember what had happened. I think that we had all worked a long day that day, then went out and played disc golf, then tried to do we packed too much into a single day, and we were dog-ass tired. We did a terrible job. We all felt bad, and we said, hey, we want to have you back on. We want to re-record it on a day where we had a little bit more energy. So yes, we have had to re-record someone, and it wasn't the guest's fault. But no, I could see other situations where we may have to record if like we had an audio problem, or I live out in the middle of nowhere, so if we drop power for some reason.
Oh yeah, that's why you were worried about the storm earlier. It's all clicking. Yeah, I mean, we've learned from that experience to just say, hey, if we're all sitting here in the room staring at each other like I will fucking kill you, then we should probably reschedule with our guests. We have
had that happen a couple times. Yeah,
we absolutely have had
come in, sat down, and been like, all right. Man,
not today. Yeah, no. Yeah. I'll let them know that we're not going to be able to make it.
Because we don't want to waste, the hour of a guest's time and then have to go, hey, do it again, but let us do it better.
Yeah,
it feels bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. Last question, and this was a goof 'em up. Whatever happened to WAK gets jacked? I've joked about it several times on the show, and somebody said, hey, you guys have talked about it a lot. Is that something that's happening? Unofficially, yeah.
Yeah, actually, kind of.
Yeah.
It is absolutely happening.
We're not filming it because that's not suitable for human consumption. But
that's on our OnlyFans.
Yeah. Oh. Somehow I owe people money from our OnlyFans.
Yeah, right. That's where your Patreon money goes.
Yeah, straight into the OnlyFans. Yeah, it buys us all maid outfits to work out in. No, so like 3 times a week we're going to Jeff's garage and working out. That's been pretty good. But I don't. To be clear, guys, WAK gets jacked as a joke. I don't think we're gonna film that.
No,
and put it up
absolutely
anywhere
not.
Because
that you know of.
Oh no, we're just not gonna. I can't. Maybe on my Snapchat, right? But like that's about the end of it because it's not anything that we could air. It's somebody squatting 5 times and us going, yeah, buddy, lightweight. Yeah, so it's not airable content. So WAK gets jacked. Technically happening. Never gonna be a show that we do. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but this will I will kind of tie in something to that though. We started this because not all 3 of us sitting here have the same goals for lifting weights.
2 of us do.
Probably the 2 reasonable ones do. They will also watch F1 together.
My goals are not reasonable. No.
What we really did is I hurt myself earlier this year. It was actually Alexi's birthday, and I hurt myself pretty bad. I tore some intercostal muscles, which are the muscles that are between your ribs.
My grandparents were intercostal.
No, we can't do.
Oh, okay.
No.
Sure.
And I didn't want to hurt myself because I was overweight, and I hurt myself because I was overweight. I had been talking to them about not wanting to hurt myself again. They, in separate of this, had been talking about wanting to do some heavier weight workouts, build up to where they were doing, I don't know if it's quite powerlifting, but it's close.
Powerlifting.
Yeah, so their goal was they want to get big, right?
1,000-pound club, let's go.
1,200-pound club if you're Jeff.
I wanted to work out to just tone up and drop some weight. And there's been some other lifestyle stuff that's going on here too, but it worked out that all of us were like, hey, let's do this together because it's easier to keep each other accountable and safer to have someone, especially with some of the weights that these 2 chuckleheads over here are dealing with. I don't know how much a Buick engine weighs, but I'm sure they've lifted it at this point.
I like it when the bar bends. It makes me feel
You're looking
fancy.
up to see how much a Buick engine weighs?
No. We're just going to count our weights by what roughly we're lifting now, yeah.
But the reason that I point all of this out, and this doesn't have anything to do with making the show so much as it does just, if you're interested in doing any of this stuff, find reasons to be out and hang out with your friends. We've had quite a few years now where what is it?
It's about 600 pounds.
Oh.
Well, there is a Buick 1963 Oddfire V6 that's 414, which I could theoretically lift.
I could get damn close.
Yeah.
But my point here is that we didn't like the lifting thing has been fun for us. But really, this was just a chance to go hang out. We had been trapped inside of the house for 2 years, and I just wanted to be out around people, and like getting healthy was a cool side effect of that.
Yeah, if WAK gets jacked, you'll know because none of us will be wearing shirts. Like that's how you'll know it's happening.
Yeah, right.
But until then, like it's just gonna be that thing we do on the side.
Oh, could we do like a training montage of Uncle Iroh in the?
We've prison cell? No.
Yeah.
No, for like 100 reasons, no.
Also, the get jacked part of it is like 80% nutrition, and I eat like trash, so...
Bro, we all had Steak and Shake.
Yeah.
We are all sitting on a Steak and Shake bomb, so...
We are. I was about to say, I eat pretty good, and then, Steak and Shake.
Yeah, no. Speaking of Steak and Shake bomb, I think this is a good point to wrap up the episode.
Yeah,
Flo, you got a fun, funny, or interesting Amthgard story to tell us?
I always have a fun, funny, or interesting Amthgard story.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more.